This is your cell. That's your cell when you drink too much water. Welcome back to Wealthy Show number 7. We've got a great show planned for you today. We're going to discuss things such as the Psoas, why it's so important, and why I think it's the most underrated muscle in the body. We're going to discuss the number one probiotic. If I had to choose one to rule them all, this is the one. We're going to talk about proper hydration. We're going to talk about how to sustain energy. But as always, I just have to thank you for being here with me. And of course, we're going to discuss everything health, everything fitness, everything how to maintain the wealthy lifestyle. So got to thank you again for just being here. Let's go ahead and get started. First, we have to go over the monthly goal. The monthly goal was to eat one probiotic with each meal. And again, I did not so good this week. I actually did probably worse this week than last week. Another busy week, just getting ready for the new year, helping out with certain things, certain projects that I have on my plate. And, eating is, when you're busy, it's taken for granted. So I didn't always have the option to eat the way I wanted to, not in the sense that I ate horribly. I just didn't think about or didn't take into account that my goal was to eat a probiotic with each meal. But when I did, I was able to achieve that. So I say 5 out of 7 days I had a probiotic with at least dinner, and then very rarely with lunch. I don't even know how many, if I ate lunch as consistently as I normally do, just because I was again busy. But other than that, I did okay. So 5 out of 7-ish days of probiotic. This is the only probiotic that you need. I've tried a ton of probiotics. I spent a lot of money on them to find the one probiotic to rule them all. Before we begin, comment below and let me know, are you taking a probiotic supplement? And if so, what kind? Also, if you want more gut health related tips, go ahead and like and subscribe, because gut health is kind of our specialty here. When I was struggling to find the right probiotic, I spent a lot of money, I spent a lot of time researching them and trying to find the best one. This probiotic is not particularly cheap, and because of that, I only recommend it to people that are really struggling and really looking for a boost and extra aid in their gut health. But if you are that person, it is totally worth it. Totally. So I navigated here to my article, Top 6 Probiotic Supplements, choosing the best for you and your gut health. If you're looking for a probiotic that's maybe cheaper than the one that we're going to go over, then there are other ones listed here that you can view. Just briefly, we're going to go over what are probiotics. Probiotics are the live microorganisms that confer a health benefit on the host when administered in adequate amount. Probiotics are just the beneficial bacteria that live in our gut. A prebiotic is going to be a dietary substance that feeds the probiotics in our gut. What to look for in probiotics? You want to look for CFUs, colony-forming units. This is one of our trivias. How many CFUs are in a quality probiotic? You want one with at least 1 billion, but preferably you want to see at least 5 billion plus when it comes to quality probiotics. And what strain types do you want? You want the high quality probiotics contain at least one of the 3 most researched probiotic strains. It's going to be Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, and Saccharomyces. If you have the choice, this is added, right? Refrigerated versus non-refrigerated. If you have the choice, go for the refrigerated over the non-refrigerated. When I worked in the lab, everything we did as far as bacteria was concerned was from a fridge. Unless we were trying to grow and populate them, then they'd be in the 37 degrees Celsius. But to maintain the integrity of the probiotic, you want them to be refrigerated. When should I take my probiotics? Is it okay to take a probiotic supplement every day? The answer is yeah, you can take one daily, but most people probably don't need it unless those of us that are really struggling, then you want to keep taking it for a while at least until you have control over your microbiome ecosystem. A few signs that you may need a probiotic supplement: if you have IBD or IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, or irritable bowel syndrome. If you're lacking mental clarity, because the gut-brain connection, i.e. a foggy mind, can lead to depression, anxiety, mental struggles. If you have unhealthy stool habits, so irregular or poor quality gas, bloating, skin problems, because the microbiome is on the skin as well as on the gut. If you've recently used antibiotics, you should probably consider taking a probiotic, because antibiotics go ahead and kill all the bad things that are maybe causing you sick, but it kills all the good things as well. If you have a ton of sugar or carbohydrate cravings, you probably want to start by changing your diet first, because that's going to probably change your sugar cravings and carbohydrate cravings. Is going to help, re-engineer that microbiome to have beneficial bacteria. But if that doesn't help, maybe you can look into a probiotic to help you with your cravings. What are some signs that the probiotics that you're using are working? It's going to be improved stool health, decreased craving, clearer skin, increased energy, calmness of mind. When you begin to take new probiotics, you might have side effects such as gas, bloating, or diarrhea. Changing in our microbiome comes with gas, as good bacteria are creating a healthy ecosystem in our gut, and these side effects should subside within a few days to a few weeks. The one probiotic to rule them all is going to be Biome. A little bit pricey here. Let's go ahead and navigate to their page actually really fast and just see what it looks like. Look at this. They have 8 strains of live bacteria in their probiotic, 20 plus years of research, 75 peer-reviewed clinical studies, clinically proven to be effective, low FODMAP certified, gluten-free, lactose-free. So there's an obvious reason why this is the number one and why it works the best for me and probably for those of us that struggle with gut health issues. A funny and interesting thing about Biome is that there's a pet version, and my dog has GI issues, and the pet version of Biome is just as good as the human version. So again, it's pricey, but it's by far my favorite and for sure worth the price. These are all the studies actually from their website. So in IBS patients, UC patients, pouchitis, and hepatic encephalopathy. Biome contains 8-strain cocktail known as D. Simone formulation. And I'm not going to struggle with all these names. You can go review them and read them. And the amount varies between 112.5 billion to 900 billion CPUs, depending on which package you purchase. If you remember, I said the bare minimum was 1 billion, and this has, 112.5 billion at the very minimum. The pros is that they are extensively researched in humans. There's 8 high quality strain probiotics. There's a high CFU count. The cons is that it's costly.
Show me the money.
So I have other ones on here too that I reviewed, and I'm not going to get into it today because we're short on time, but if you're curious, this is going to be on the Whealthy Performance page. So I have a trip coming up, family to New York, and I want a seamless transition from West Coast to East Coast and dealing with jet lag and wanting to maintain the good rhythm that I'm in as far as when I'm waking up, working out, getting work done before everyone else wakes up, because that's the time that I like to do it. I don't have you handle the most important things first is what I'm trying to say. So I want to keep that going. So I did a little research on not only how to maintain energy, but also kind of defeat jet lag. So we're going to go over those 5 things right now. A lot of these things on the list are going to be how to improve your sleep, because you can't really trick your body into having more energy when you haven't rested properly. And of course, we know the other 2 pillars of health are going to be diet and exercise. So they're going to revolve around that as well. How to never get tired. Sustaining your energy all day long by avoiding these 5 things. First, you're going to want to avoid dehydration. Hydration is huge as far as maintaining energy levels and as far as regulating the sleep and wake cycle. And of course, it's especially big when you travel, because you're going to get dehydrated from the flight, from being in the air, the plane, the quality of air in the plane. And you often, I don't like to drink that much water when I'm on plane or airports. I don't want to have to use a restroom every few hours and move past people in the aisle and all that stuff. So maybe hydrating before and then when you land is going to be really crucial to maintaining your energy. Even without travel, hydration is huge for maintaining energy. That's why one of the first things that we're supposed to do is drink water in the morning. You want to boost your energy levels right away. Not only that, it's just super easy to consume water and electrolytes. That's why it's number 1. It's like, the bare minimum that you want to do if you want to maintain energy. The second thing you want to avoid to maintain energy is changing your sleep-wake cycle. We've talked about this before, how maintaining the same sleep-wake cycle is very crucial to your energy levels, as far as your body loves routine. So you want to keep a routine with our sleep and wake cycle so that your body knows when it's time to wake up, when it's time to go to sleep, what hormones to produce, around what time. And a part of that maintaining the same sleep schedule is going to be the third thing that you want to avoid, and that's not getting morning sun and late night light. Your eyes are actually an extension of your brain. Yes, it is a part of your central nervous system. It is basically your brain facing, the outside world. So of course, what we perceive in our eyes is going to affect the way we sleep and how much we sleep and our energy levels, because you're going to be receiving light from all these sources, and it's going to let your brain know, okay, it's time to get up. So to let our body know that we need energy producing hormones, we're going to try to get that morning sun as soon as it comes up. And then we're going to want to avoid like bright light late at night. We're going to want to dim down the lights, use the blinds or whatever you have to make it dark like a cave. One of the easiest ways to go about this is to just follow the natural rhythm of the sun. Of course, like you can't get the sun if the sun's not up. I think that's pretty obvious, but when the sun goes down, you should also just dim the lights down a little bit instead of trying to brighten the room up. The fourth thing that you want to avoid is stagnation. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. And if we want to produce energy, we have to do energy producing activities. I think that's obvious that that's going to be exercise, fitness, working out. Sitting at your desk, staring at a phone or computer is not going to produce you energy. Do whatever it takes to break up your day and elevate your heart rate. The same thing is going to happen as far as your body is going to be operating on a certain schedule. So you want to maintain that same schedule as far as fitness and workouts are concerned as well. If you maintain the same schedule for your workouts, your body's going to begin producing those hormones that it needs for the workout before the workout actually. It's going to get so used to that regularity, that same time every day that you're in the gym or wherever you're doing your workout. It's going to begin producing maybe some testosterone, maybe some cortisol to get you up and like, okay, we're ready, let's do it. And the better shape that you're in, the more endurance that you have, the more sustained energy you're going to have over the day. The fifth thing you're going to want to avoid is caffeine late in the day. Oh man, I know it's hard to hear. This is why I saved it for last. And I'm not telling you to avoid caffeine completely, but what you should know is that caffeine's half-life is 4 to 6 hours after consumption. So that means 4 to 6 hours after you drink a caffeinated beverage or eat caffeinated food, only half of it is going to be out of your system. So to stay safe, we'll say 8 hours, it's all out of your system. If you're having that coffee at 1 p.m. after lunch, then the coffee is not going to make it out of your way until 9 p.m. that night. And I understand we have a lot of stuff to do and you want to maybe have that coffee or that tea after lunch to get things done, get shit done. Just make sure that you're having it at a reasonable time so when you go to lay down and sleep, it's all good. Trivia for the day. How long does the average person sit in one day? You have an option of 8 hours, 15 hours, never, beast mode, or 4 hours. And the answer is 15 hours. That's pretty crazy. The average person sits 15 hours a day. What else do you do for 15 hours a day? I can't think of many things. This is so much of a problem that I actually wrote an article about why sitting is as bad for your health as smoking and obesity, and how all it takes is 20 minutes of at-home exercise to combat inactivity. A sedentary lifestyle is associated with diabetes and cardiovascular risk, as well as all-cause mortality. How long is too long for prolonged inactivity? So those who sat for more than 8 hours a day with no physical activity had risk of all-cause mortality the same rate as those who were obese and who smoked daily. So I'm sorry to hit you with all those depressing facts, but I'm also going to give you things that we can do about it. 60 to 75 minutes of moderate intense physical activity a day counteracts the effects of too much sitting. You really don't have to do too much high intensity exercise to combat the negative effects of sitting. For 60 minutes of activity through non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. NEAT represents common daily activities such as walking and standing, and can result in up to extra 2,000 calories burnt a day. So that's all it's saying is like get up, take a break, walk around, do some push-ups. You don't have to really be like sweating, The 60 minutes of activity, of moderate activity is recommended, but that's not needed to combat the negative effects of sitting. This is your cell. That's your cell when you drink too much water. Overrated is overhydration with water. You can drink too much water? Yes, especially when you don't consume electrolytes with that water. When you drink too much water, you overload your cells and organs and they're not able to process all of the water, causing them to burst. The sodium content of your blood becomes dilute. This occurs when there's a higher concentration of water outside the cell, and during osmosis, water rushes into the cell, fills it up, and it pops. The kidneys can only remove 20 to 28 liters of water per day, and they cannot excrete more than 0.8 to 1 liter per hour. So drinking more than this in a day or in an hour can be harmful. A few signs of overhydration are going to be headaches, nausea, vomiting, frequent urination, going to the restroom too much, clear pee. So if it looks like water, you need to get some electrolytes in, and cramping. Underrated is going to be not consuming electrolytes. Common electrolytes include sodium, chloride, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. Electrolytes are essential for controlling your fluid balance, regulating your blood pressure, helping your muscles contract, including your heart, and maintaining the correct acidity of your blood. As the name suggests, electrolytes are going to help the electrical signals in your body function properly. So it's going to do things like help your muscles contract, including your heart. Electrolytes are going to help your cells perform osmosis, so that exchange of water and ions in and out of the cell is going to be able to do that correctly and in the correct balance. And if you're consuming a lot of water as a result of maybe you're working out a lot or you're taking a certain medication that makes you really thirsty, then consuming electrolytes with that water becomes even more important. Electrolytes can be consumed in food and drinks as well. A pro tip is if you are consuming electrolytes in the form of a drink, especially when it has sugar in it, go ahead and dilute that drink 1-to-1. So that means equal part electrolyte drink to equal parts water. What if I told you by focusing on one muscle you can improve gut health, performance, and back pain? Well, you can, and that muscle is the psoas muscle. We're going over all about the psoas, identifying and caring for psoas problems. If you don't know what the psoas is, don't worry. Stay tuned to this video all the way to the end so you can understand what it is, where it is, and how to care for it properly. Your psoas muscle is the main muscle that connects between your torso and lower body. So it connects your top half and your lower half. The major function is to help you flex your hip joint by bringing your leg up and in towards your torso. The psoas muscles also strengthen your lower spine, which leads to support to your posture. They extend from the side of your lumbar spine through your hips and connect to the upper thigh bone. You use your psoas muscles every day when you stand, walk, run, jump, dance, and maintain upright posture. So you essentially use your psoas at all times. The first time I had my psoas worked on by my massage therapist, it was weird and it hurt. The next day, my body felt like a cooked noodle. The day after that, I was performing like a superhero, just in time to set a new personal record in my upcoming track meet. Previous to this massage, I had no idea what the psoas was. I just knew that my hips and back were tight. And fast forward 5 years to being diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and now my hips and back are tight again due to inflammation. Not only that, but I was suffering from bloating and an upset stomach. I was able to find relief after practicing some of the psoas release techniques that I learned, and that left me with one burning question. Can the same techniques used in my athletic career to improve my performance be used to help ease my stomach distress? How treating your colon as an injury can provide GI relief. In one study, 92% of participants found complete resolution of all symptoms of abdominal pain, including reflux, vomiting, nausea, and bowel upset. This was following massage therapy in which there were improvement in psoas tension and tenderness. So stay with me. I'm going to link how improving the psoas is going to help also improve your colon health. We like to think of a person as a whole person and treat them holistically rather than identifying a person by their symptom. So unfasten your seatbelts because sitting sucks and is bad for you, and get ready to stretch your mind and body. What the gut? Linking the psoas and gut health. So there is an association between psoas trauma, psoas stiffness, and psoas shortness linked to the IBD and gastric upset. One of the signs of poor gut health in patients with IBD is the rigidity of the colon following flare-up. Cycles of inflammation and healing following a flare-up leads to scar tissue that narrows the intestine. So scar tissue affects how our colon moves and operates, and more scar tissue leads to worse things. So this presents us with a challenge. How do we heal the scar tissue and return the colon to its flexible and pliable state? As an athlete, I dealt with numerous injuries, and with those injuries came scar tissue. I'm very familiar with the recovery process as far as getting rid of or loosening up scar tissue. How does that translate to a much more sensitive area of the colon and psoas? I've got to add some disclaimers here as we continue to discuss this. If you are in serious pain, as always, please contact your doctor. I don't care what kind of acronyms follow someone's name. Don't only listen to random YouTubers about this. So let's make sure we're dealing with only psoas tightness and not trying to treat the underlying disease as well. And as we progress in how to take care of the psoas, make sure that you're treating it gently. What are some causes and symptoms? Some of the causes other than inflammation of the colon are going to be repetitive jumping, for example, jumping rope or long jump activities. Long jumper ends up with ulcerative colitis. Is that much of a surprise? Longer frequent periods of sitting, complications from surgery, or sports with a lot of jumping. How to care for the psoas. Typical treatment includes physical therapy focused on stretching, strengthening the spine and hip joints alongside the psoas muscle. In one study, 100% of dancers responded to conservative management. This includes exercise programs that the patients could do at home, focused on hip rotations, and have demonstrated effectiveness in reducing pain and improving activity. As we learn how to stretch and release your psoas muscle in order to improve gut health and get rid of back pain, you want to avoid quick progression while trying psoas release techniques. You can't instantly hack your way into an improved psoas. It's going to take time and attention. So applying swift pressure to the psoas can do damage to the colon. The same massage therapist that I really appreciated and enjoy who taught me about the psoas also taught me not only do you apply slow and steady pressure to the psoas while doing manual manipulations, but also you want to aim for slow and steady release. He taught me to think about the psoas almost like a guitar string that you're going to work in this direction and this direction while applying pressure to it. And when you apply pressure, you want it to be slow and steady, but when you release the pressure off, you also want it to be slow and steady. You need to work with care and patience, not urgency. Scar tissue sounds bad, but it's absolutely necessary as a part of the body's repair process. Scar tissue brings in collagen and new cells to repair the area of injury. However, as scar tissue forms and lays down new muscle fibers, those new muscle fibers are actually going to be tightly coiled with limited blood flow. So you think about your muscle fibers as it lays down kind of like this. And when scar tissue forms, it lays down in this way where it's interlocked, right? So if you pull on that tissue too soon without it being this way, it's just going to tighten that knot. Our goal in helping scar tissue with its repair job is fivefold. One, you're going to want to allow time for rest so that the scar tissue can do its job. Two, you're going to want to encourage fresh blood flow into the area to bring in oxygen and nutrients. Three, you're going to want to uncoil the tight nature of these new muscle fibers the way they're laid down. Four, you're going to want to lengthen the psoas. And five, you're going to want to strengthen the psoas. First and foremost, we're going to want to allow scar tissue to do its thing with rest and recovery. So this is the easiest of these 5 steps, right? We want active recovery to be our main focus, but you need to rest when you're dealing with injuries, especially internal ones. Even something as simple as stretching can cause unformed scar tissue to bind even tighter, making its coiled nature even harder to uncoil. 2, you're going to want to try to create blood flow in that area with mobility. Mobility is the effort of bringing in fresh blood flow to begin repairing the injury. After we've properly rested and allowed the scar tissue to form and do its thing, we're going to work on creating blood flow with mobility exercises. So these are some of my favorite mobility exercises that I enjoy. They're quick, they're easy. I do them daily, especially anytime that I'm going to do any sort of workout or fitness routine, just to get things going. I like to think about it as like greasing the wheel, I'll say. So we already know that a joint has this ball and socket formation, and the best way to warm this up is with a circular motion. So this mobility drills are going to be circles, hip circles and back circles. I'm here in the gym. My feet are about hip width apart, and I'm doing big circles, rotating my hips as far forward and as far back and side as they can go. If I get stuck in any areas, I might just take my time and work through that area a little bit extra. And I'll go back the other way. I am speaking during all of these, but my mic died, so don't worry about what I'm saying. I'm voicing over it now with you. So I did 10 one direction, 10 the other direction. If I'm really feeling sore or stiff, I might go 20 and 20. And the next version is going to be for our back. The first version with the closer hips is for our hips. Closer feet are for our hips. The next version with wider feet is going to be for the back. So you see I'm doing a little bit different motion here, a little bit more focus on the back, wide, big circles, 10 one direction, 10 the other direction. And just because it's for the back doesn't mean that you're only going to feel it in your back. You're going to probably hear some cracking or feel it in your hips as well. And I go 10 the other direction. So you see, I'm just explaining. I felt a little something. I was stuck in that spot right there, so I just went a little bit extra there. The third thing that you're going to want to do to take care of the psoas is a massage. After we've established good blood flow in the area and it's nice and warm, we want to work on releasing some of the tension in our psoas by breaking up the scar tissue. As a reminder, you want this to be slow and steady process that could take weeks, months, or even years. And yeah, it's probably going to hurt just a little bit, but the pain is worth the gain. You see, I'm using my hands to show you the motion that we're going to work in. You want to work up your ascending colon, which is from your right hip up to your right rib cage, across to the left, and then down the descending colon, which is going to be from your left rib, most bottom rib, through to your left hip. So I'm on my back here. I got my knees bent. I'm just doing little small circles. I found a spot. I'm going to straighten that leg, bend it back, straighten that leg, bend it back, working through that tightness. And then moving it again with small circles up the ascending colon, across, down the descending colon, small circles, small circles. This is one of my favorite ones. This is like the beginner basic variation of psoas release. Okay, so I'm taking that guitar string that we talked about earlier. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and watch that earlier video. And I'm moving that guitar string. So I worked up, across, and over, and now I'm taking the guitar string back and I'm going this way. I'm just going to shift up and go this way. I'm just going to shift up, right? One motion is like this, and almost a circular motion, and the next one is going to be still circular, but I'm going to go back and forth, up, back and forth, up. So now I'm working on that left side of the psoas. I'm gonna straighten my leg out, right? So the reason I'm straightening and bending my knee is you want your knees bent whenever you're doing this. It takes the tension off of that guitar string, and it again creates less tension. So when you're working on it, there's less chance of bad things happening. I'm showing the person who walked in the gym what the psoas is and where it connects to. And straightening and bending that leg is going to create more tension or less tension. Always start with the less tension. So knees bent. I have my Theragun here, and I'm going to use my Theragun to do a little self massage instead of using my hands. It's just a way to do the same thing, essentially just with the tool. And I'm going back and forth with the Theragun. I'm always following the same pattern, and that's going up the ascending colon on the right side, across the bottom of the rib cage there, and down the descending colon on the left side. So next I'm moving into the Psoas. This was actually a gift from a client. Very appreciative. Thank you so much. The Psoas is a way to release tension on your psoas using this device here. It looks a little intimidating, but it's not too bad. I also have this hypersphere ball here, hypersphere ball. And I use both of them to work on the psoas muscle, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. They're both great tools. If I had to choose one, I might choose the ball, and I'll explain why in a second, but both of them are great tools. Okay, so you see me getting ready to use the Psoas. I'll just go ahead and lower myself down. I'll use my elbows to, apply as much or as little pressure as needed. I'm gonna just let gravity do most of the work on this here. So the Psoas is just kind of sitting into where the psoas would be on my body. And I'm just letting gravity, let me down as low with as much or as little pressure as I want. I'm using my elbows to adjust the pressure. It could be more, it could be less, depending on how you're feeling. And that's it. Again, I'll show you why I like the ball a little bit better than the Psoas. But with the Psoas, if we think about the psoas as guitar strings, I'll sometimes use it to strum the guitar strings side to side, and then I'll adjust my body up or down and use it to strum it side to side again. So again, I'll go ahead and hop on the ball. The reason I like the ball a little bit more is it helps you work through that same pattern of up the ascending, across, over, down the descending a little bit more fluidly, a little bit more effortlessly than the Psoas, in my opinion. I'm able to work one side, right? The Psoas, you get to work both sides at once, so that's a pro. With the ball, okay. Also, you can use just a lacrosse ball. Like you can use any sort of ball. It doesn't have to be this hypersphere ball. But with the ball, you can go up. You can work one side at a time. You can strum it back and forth, up and down. It just provides you a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more freedom with how you work through your psoas muscle, and that's why I like it more. So on the times that it looks like I'm just pausing, whether I'm using my hands or a tool, it's probably because I've identified a spot that might be sore, that might be tender, that might be tight, and I'm just going to pause on that area and let gravity or let my hands do the work without moving it anywhere. Just apply the pressure to the psoas, and on its own, it's going to release a little bit. I'm talking about avoiding working too quickly, and this is one of the ways to do it. Is to just, all you need to do is apply the pressure and let it sit. You don't have to move it anywhere. If it's extreme pain or sensitivity, or you feel things moving around, just go ahead and wait there. The fourth thing you're going to want to do to care for the psoas is to stretch it. So as the scar tissue lays down, if you don't undo this knot and make the muscle fibers lay the way they're supposed to, and you go to stretch, you're just going to be pulling that knot tighter. So you see here, I just have a little upward dog going there. Undefeated in terms of releasing tension on your back, a little bit of downward dog. I love this sequence that I'm working through. It's actually from P90X, so I don't know if you know what that is, but and I'll step through with my foot and do this warrior one pose here. So you see I'm really elongated with that left side of the psoas. And maybe the only critique that I would say here is to start with the right side, start with the ascending side versus the descending side, but it's all good. I'll go back into my upward dog, downward dog sequence. Push back. And I'll step through again for my warrior one pose. If you're familiar with any of the other warrior poses from yoga, then those are all good too. If not, don't worry about it. Just stick with what we're up to right here. I'm working through these pretty quickly. Normally I might hold them a little bit longer, but it's super early in the morning and I'm trying to get this filmed for you guys and talk to the guy that's in the gym with me. So I'm just working through these somewhat quickly. And next I'll slide that foot over to the opposite hand, drop the knee, and I'll go ahead and get this pigeon pose here. And this is crucial for the psoas as well, because we know the psoas actually attaches through like the backside to our backside from up here underneath our ribs down through the hips onto the back. So the psoas is going to attach in the back, and releasing the glutes is going to help a lot for hip pain, back pain, psoas muscle. I'm gonna work through my upward dog, downward dog sequence again. Step through, walk the foot over to the opposite hand and drop the knee. This is one of the stretches that I should be doing more. You see how bad I am at it. But it's also one of the stretches that is the best. I'll say one of the most underrated. And again, I need to be holding it longer, but I'm just trying to work through this so that this video isn't too long for you guys. So next I'm gonna walk over. I just grabbed a little bench. You can use your couch, your sofa, your bed, a chair, anything that you really want to. So you're just gonna put a foot up on whatever prop you're using. Get a nice little lunge stretch in there. Grab the mat for my knee. You want to be up tall, lunging forward with the hips. Next, I'm going to straighten my arms up a little bit like the warrior pose here. But this time I'm leaning over to the side, and then I'm going to twist. So the twisting is going to actually help release the psoas even more. If you can manage it, go ahead and provide some little rotations in there. I'm going to just switch sides. Put my arms up again, get that little side bend, and then I'm going to rotate and twist. If you can picture where the psoas is, this twisting is just going to elongate it a little bit more. So I walk to the back of the bench, and I'm going to show you another version of what would be pigeon pose, but this one's going to be slightly easier because your leg is going to be raised. Again, you can use your couch, you can use your bed, a chair. This one allows me to lean forward just because it's easier than being on the ground. So I'm able to get into that pigeon pose a little bit deeper. Releasing the glutes, releasing the tension on my back, releasing the psoas muscle. And then I'll switch sides. Now we're going to go onto the ground and do another little glute stretch, because we know that the glutes are as important as the psoas, as important as the hips, right? It's all one region. We would loosen up the whole region. We're going to loosen up the psoas. So I just placed my foot over my knee, bent my knee back, and I'm doing this pose here that I don't really know what it's called, but I'm sure that you've seen it or somewhere before. I drop down to the side and come across with my arm to do a twist. You don't have to progress this quickly. You don't have to do the twist. You can just stick with the glute stretch and that's fine. I'm just trying to give you options. And I'll do the other side. And twist as well. While we're here, one of the stretches that I forgot to do was when you lay on your back and you just bring your knees to your chest. It's going to help again with the glutes, with the psoas, with the hip flexors. Then now I'm going to do the same stretch, but a little bit easier variation where you're sitting again on the couch or something in your chair at work on the desk, and you just drop down into that same stretch. So I just cross the foot over my knee and then drop down into the stretch. You'll see it again, the other side. Foot across the knee, and I'll just drop down into the stretch. So you start slowly. You pick whichever variation you like and is easiest for you, and then work with that. The fifth thing you're going to want to do is strengthen the psoas. So once we've established good blood flow, the area is warm and pliable, it's nice and flexible, we're going to want to re-strengthen the psoas. Now that we worked on rest, we've worked on mobility, we've worked on release techniques, we've worked on stretching, we're going to work on some strength here. And the very first one is going to be planks. Planks is by far the best. Planks, in my opinion, is by far the best core work. It's going to help stabilize your muscles, those hip flexors. You see I started off on my elbows and now I'm going to move up to my hands. The hands is a little bit easier. And planks are going to help that whole core. It's not going to only focus on the front of the core. It's going to help the back, the sides. I got the side planks here. And for these, I might do something like 30 seconds in the middle, 15 seconds each side, or a minute in the middle, 30 seconds each side, kind of working through progressions in these as well. Just showing you different variations. Gonna go to the other side. So I'm up on my hands or down on my elbow. Again, the hands is going up on our hand is going to be easier than going down to our elbow. So now I'm going to flip over and show you 6 inches. I call them 6 inches. They're just leg lifts, basically. So I lift my legs, just hold them there. My hands are under my glutes. This is going to be the easiest of the variations that I'm going to show you. Flutter kicks, my legs just kind of kick back and forth like I'm swimming almost. Then you can have scissor kicks that just come across each other, open back up, come across each other. My hands are still under my glutes this whole time, and then big scissor kicks. So that's kind of the 6 inches routines that I like. And when you're ready for it, you can remove the hands from under your glutes. You can put them behind your head. You can hold them out across from you, just side. And same thing, work through the same progression of regular 6 inches, flutter kicks, big flutter kicks, or scissor kicks. So we're going to move into suitcases actually too. So these I call suitcases. You see they're just moving the knees up to the chest and the chest up to the knees, almost mimicking that same motion that the psoas is so important for. And same with bicycles, just a different variation. So bicycles are going to be single leg. Really working that psoas motion, the knee up towards the chest, just like you're running. And very last of the strength exercises, but maybe the most advanced, is going to be hanging leg raises. You see I'm just hanging by the bar, I lift my knees up. This is my favorite part. This is my favorite exercise for leg lifts. This is my favorite exercise for the psoas muscle. It's just going to work the exact motion that you use when you're running and jumping. It's going to be the most difficult. It's the most fun, honestly. So those were with bent knees, and then I'm going to do some with straight legs. Well, straight-ish legs. Those aren't that straight, but. And that's it. Good job. We did it. We are at the end. That was a long one today, guys. I'm sorry about that. I hope I do a good job editing this and turn it into something that's fun and engaging, and that we all, like to view. So thank you for being here with me. I'll see you next week. As always, stay wealthy.
Baby, I'm about you. You see through me. I'm a like